So, wisdom of embodiment, and I'd like to place a few ideas and then move into a guided meditation. So as you might have experienced yourself, this can be sometimes somewhat baffling, because we take for granted that we have bodies and this head, arms, legs, stuff. And may be accustomed even to kind of tracking particular sensation as you walk, or sensation of breathing, and that's great, that's fine, because you're learning those skills of tracking, following something steadily, just so the mind isn't just spinning out, tracking, breathing in, breathing out, very simple, idea anyway. Of course, as you do so, you find there are numerous obstructions that come up. Surprising how difficult it can be to do that without exerting some kind of massive willpower effort to do it. And then you're thinking, this is trying to make it peaceful, but I'm just feeling so tight. And such a simple thing as breathing, why is it difficult, And then the body feels pain and uncomfortable, and miserable, And generally as good programmed human beings, we often feel, well, keep going, Probably good for me, something, just tough it out. And that's, there's something noble in that too. There's a point at which, wait a minute, is there a subtler way? And so taking embodiment perhaps to another level, and it's actually, it's a softer level, I would say it's an earlier level in development. It's even earlier in your mind, like when you first wake up in the morning, right? The first 2 seconds. All right. Before the world comes into shape, that sense. So sometimes it's this experience of the mind at this level is almost dreamy. It's quite soft, and it's just feeling things out, quite receptive, not a lot of construction. So it is a conditioned experience, but it's a first condition, the first level of conditioning in the coming into a body. So, sometimes the experiences can be even like uterine, womb experiences. You feel you're in something that accepts you or doesn't accept you or whatever. And so recognize, that our experience is layered. So you have a foundational experience of just being present, and all the layers are stacked up, and then you have your kind of sensory sense contact, and then your more developed person from childhood, teenage, adult. And as you meditate, you can find yourself dropping through some of these layers into you feeling like you're 6 years old, and or mentally, psychologically, not very adult at all. And what's going on? Because all those layers are still there, and as you meditate, you begin to relax some of the constructions, the top level construction, which is me, my job, the office, 6 o'clock, that thing, the working world person. That we've unplugged that. So you unplug that, the mind. Sometimes it goes back to that, but you kind of come into a much more sense of, well, who am I? What am I doing with my life? Where am I going? And then maybe you're coming into personal issues. My sense of regret about my parents, my children, and then you come even beneath that, you come to the level of, well, where am I? Who am I? So you come. The mind seems to descend through these layers. Through these. And so they're all there, and it can move in and out. But often what occurs is it hits the places that still are not freed. So naturally, a lot of meditation is extremely problematic, because as the mind sort of shifts through, it touches the stuff that isn't released. So suddenly, you didn't realize what a miserable, depressed person you were until you started to meditate. Because you're not really, but that's the bits, oh my goodness, the bits that haven't really been cleaned out, resolved. So those layers are still there. Where are they? Are they in our skin, or are they in our thoughts? Why are they not there? I don't think, what happened? Well, I'm using this word energy, and try to use the word fairly softly, sankhara, energetic formations. So these are, again, it's a mysterious term, because I don't just mean energy as power. I mean that we are actually, as you meditate, you realize you are in a dynamic process. Suddenly the past can come in. It isn't past. The person who you left 5 years ago can come in. The person you were 10 years ago can come in. Suddenly you're down in your knees. Then you're out in India. And then what? And all what you're doing, you're bouncing through the places which are stuck. Hitting against that. Occasionally dropping into a relief place. But you're moving through these. And it's now, isn't it? It's happening now. So just put the idea of mind on hold. We're in a field which isn't structured in terms of space and time. The past, what apparently the past, can happen now. It's not actually, we don't move forward in time, or something doesn't move forward in time. In fact, what's happening is we live in this dynamic field of cause and effect, of sensitivities and intelligence, and everything that's experienced in that awareness, which is timeless, not bound up in space or time, is known, is a certain affected by it, and many of those effects just arise and pass and they're gone. We don't remember the non-problem. We don't remember much of it. We don't remember. It just arises and passes. Some things arise very sharply and they get stuck. And they don't pass so easy. So there's a disturbance in this field, energy, field of mind, field of being. And when there's a disturbance, it comes up, and then what happens? The mind creates an organizer which says, oh, well, just forget that. Move on, doesn't matter. No time. It's not important. It just puts a lid on it, or caps it, or closes it. And then as you meditate, these things start popping open. Right? Is that how it happens? Is that what it feels like? Mysteriously popping open. And it could be something you see, suddenly hits that, reminds you, and something pops open. It could be beautiful, could be horrible. So, we're in this dimension, and it's not moving along in terms of space and time. It's not confined to what happens within these four walls. It's not confined to what happens at 9 o'clock this morning or what happened yesterday. It overflows those boundaries. In fact, those boundaries are created, constructed. That's why it overflows them, because these boundaries of space and time have been constructed. Where are you? Really? Where do you feel you are? and suddenly Beatenberg disappears. It's only constructed through the sense fields, isn't it? And seeing objects, and the mind then constructs space, then constructs time, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, night time, time to go to bed, time to get up, and so it's constructed like that. Move on, move on, move on. Now, that's all constructed. Even to the extent when you come into your embodiment, it constructs legs and arms. What you experience is sensations and energies. And it says, that's my leg. That's my chest. It constructs it. And that's not wrong, it just is a construction. You can use that, but remember it is secondary to the experience of body. Secondary, or even third. Third is when you start to think, my body is too big or I'm ugly. That's another construction. What people think of me, complete construction. So, and then we dwell in these constructions, and you see how it's not a deliberate thing, because the constructions are sometimes hideous, horrible, painful, that the mind constructs. Why does it do that? It's trying to find orientation, stability, peace, evenness, orientation. And but when it comes into orienting, it feels all these kind of blocks and resistances, and tough places and sharp places, and it hasn't resolved, so it constructs something that will fit within that. Having understood that I'm not a good enough person, right, because that's what these obstacles give rise to the feeling of disharmony, dis-ease, fear, stress, pressure, there's something wrong with me. Okay, that's the norm. Now I construct something that will fit that, which means I do lots of stuff to prove I'm good enough to myself. I go and help people to feel I'm worthy. I am, I doll myself up. I put makeup on stuff to make so I look good enough. Without it, I'm frightened, to go out. People get like that. Because basically I'm not, what I am is not enough. Inadequate. Why is that? You could say it's just neurotic, but then it's, beneath that, it's because there's these distortions in the field, distortions, contractions in the field, create this dissonant experience. So therefore, to live within that, we have to construct something that will fit what those distortions do, so we can compensate. So we can compensate. You start to know these. Because the thing is, because the sign or the recognition is, no matter what you do in your doing to make sure you are being good enough, you're never good enough. You keep doing more, but you never. No matter what you do from the position of people, I'm not really very nice, people don't like me or something, no matter what you do, you'll still come up to the same result, because it hasn't resolved anything. It's just compensating for it. And sometimes these things we don't know why it's that way. And even if you did in your brain, in your thinking, it wouldn't really work. But if we come down to this very primary level of where the disturbance is, there's a possibility to soften that shock or that dent or that dissonance and gently ease it out. And this is basic sympathy, metta, goodwill, open, things we've been talking about. Now that experience, that level, is the level of the primary embodiment. When you come into, when the citta arises into being a body, into feeling in a body. Yeah. So this is both historical, from conception, even conception and gestation and birth. It goes back that far, but often people don't get that deep, but early. So it's the first sense of being in a body. It's a very kind of soft, almost dream state of not really being that clear. And yet you feel present, and you feel movement, and you feel retraction, and you feel pressure, and you feel safe or not safe. And that senses the body as an embodiment. It's either slightly like that or like that. It's kind of this level. That particular place is the place where these very primary distortions get fed in. Primary, so those are we can actually begin to release those, and then all the layers of construction that have been built upon that begin to deconstruct because the foundation is gone. I realized that sense of not being adequate disappeared. Therefore, a lot of the things I do suddenly become, why bother? The opinions I have about my appearance were just constructed on that feeling of not being welcome. Not being welcome. When that's gone, I feel okay. I don't feel self-conscious. This definitely happens. So this is why I find this very helpful place to practice in and offer it. Now, that level is called an energetic level, and so if we, from where we are, we find, well, coming into the body, you can feel physical contact, you feel sensation, you touch something. Just experiment when you stand or walk or put your foot on the ground or something. You get basic sense contact, don't you? Otherwise you'd fall over. So you get that experience, which we take for granted and assume, that's me, I'm standing. That's me, I'm walking, foot on the ground. Just rest a little longer and you get energetic contact, which means the foot seems to come alive. It takes a little while after the first contact, you get, they said, now, are you really there? Oh yeah, and it seems more alive, it seems warmer, resonant. You feel now that piece is almost intelligent. It's alive, it's awake. So contact, we have basic sense contact. You touch something, obviously, then you wait, and then you got it. And it's slightly different. There's slightly more tingle, vibrancy, resonance in things. And we've been practicing some of this with the Qigong. And often it means doing quite simple things, but rather slowly. Because, we could just glide from sense contact to sense contact, touch, yeah, so what, I can do this, arm up and down. But then, when energetic contact, you feel what lights the muscles up. There's the hand, there's the hand, there's the arm, and the chest. Didn't realise that. Because the energetic contact connects to the entirety of the embodied experience. Whereas, just direct sense contact, only, you get a little bit of a feeling or sensation in the rest of the hand, but with energetic contact, because the body at that level the embodiment at that level is energetic. It's like, you get it, and then you sense a sort of subtle charge, subtle connection, and you can even feel it in your feet, soles of your feet, if the channels are clear. Now, why we've been practicing, why I offer Qigong, and this is just one offering that may work for you, is because that energetic contact, as it lights up, will tend to travel until it hits an obstacle. It will run through and then bonk. Where we didn't know there was one. It travels through and you find out, suddenly feel, and you can feel dizzy or disoriented, or it travels through, but if you pause and slow with it, it begins to open up places in your embodiment where the energy can move through, and you feel your body, your sense of your body changes into something much more spacious and slightly mysterious. Like it becomes, who is this? Who is she? Who is this? And it's a subject. It's no longer an object that I'm doing things to. It's a subject that can start to do things to me. Do you see what I mean? In other words, it can change the constructions, the construct itself. Suddenly it becomes quieter. And so you get this effect. So sometimes, so you can begin to even if you don't really track exactly every little ripple, you get the overall feeling of something is moving and shifting and changing, and something in you sort of releases or drops. You feel perhaps less driven, less busy, you can't rush around, you feel, I just want to take my time. As your energy is settled to a more organic level, a more primary level, than the level of the constructed person who's running from here to there to get there on time, and they've already got the future planned out. Before they get there, they've already finished it. Before you got to the kitchen, you're already planning the washing up. As soon as you pick up the plate, the food's in your mouth. And as you're eating, you're thinking about what you're having next. Boom, boom, boom. So that we start the organic experience is much more open. And in that openness at that level, then naturally some of these distortions in the field begin to be felt. And the theme is that if the energy can pass through them, that disturbance is like, just imagine, you've got a, flock of sheep running along, and you put they go through a wall, hole in the wall, and there's a bar. So the first sheep has to leap over the bar, jumps over, jumps over, jumps over, jumps over. So there's 10 sheep jump over. This takes the bar down, but the sheep follow the sheep who went in front. They still keep jumping over the bar that isn't there because they follow the sheep. Even though there's no bar, so there's a sheep jumping over. So similarly in our field, we may have had this shock of somebody, hit me or said something. They're gone, but I'm still jumping over a bar that isn't actually there. I'm still, deflecting a pain isn't actually happening anymore because the energy got locked into that pattern, right? And if I move briskly along, I might go through that pattern again. Here we go, jumping over an obstacle that isn't there. So it feels like it's there because you feel this jump, this blur, this jump. So it feels like it's still there. And you slow down and you get the chance for the sheep to actually oh. So there isn't a bar there. There's just a sort of strange space. That you are moving through. Oh, I don't feel like myself anymore because normally I'm doing this. Or sticking. And then, okay, that's the chance. You disorient. You disorient your old self. So often the experience of one of you feel rather disoriented. Good, that's good. But then, why we use the body again is because in that, you do disoriented. Have you still got feet? Yep, seems like it. Well, that's about all you need. Feet. Can you get a back? If you get a back and some feet, and you can breathe, that's enough. This doesn't sound like refined meditation, does it? But, actually what is happening, you are tracking certain things in detail, but not through the normal part of your mind that you operate through. It's not through your, organized attention. It's coming from something more intuitive and feel and suggested and guessed and maybe, and you're tracking that, because at that level things are slightly dreamier, softer, quieter, more moody, more emotional, you could say. They're not organized attention. So actually you keep your organized attention just down to the basics, standing, sitting, back, present, ground, space. And then your mind has many levels to it, many layers to it, so there's a certain layer of it which is obviously organized intelligence, thought, attention, and you have subtle layers which are more like mood, feeling, inclination, and even something subtle like that called mind, mental tone, like feeling urgent, feeling spacious, feeling slightly held. What does this? Just relax that. And you're tracking on that mental tone quite subtle but formative influences at the primary level. Formative influences. It can be, not welcome. What would it then, you feel that, what would it be like to be welcome? Welcome. What would it be like to really be welcome? And so sometimes as you're tracking, though you get that sense, and why to track the mental tone, even more than the physical aspect, because this is with the mental tone, tired of trying, tired. What would it be like to just say, rest? What does it need? And because that's the quality where we really support the removal of those distortions. So these are not, for the rest of my life I'm going to lie on my back. No, because you're thinking, Mike, you can't do this all the time, resting around, you get work, you're lazy, and get to work. But no, because we're just doing this in this meditative process. So if you really can find those places, that's exactly what was needed. I start to feel more whole and complete, steady, and then what's needed, what's helpful now? And we can rise into an appropriate action, we can rise up through the levels back to the sense world and do what seems appropriate. So there's a map. You descend to something where you're descending from the top of your brain into the basin of the heart, a real deep, soulful place. And this is where these primary wounds can be accessed. They're still there, and if you can speak to them, or not verbally, but in mental inclination, the basic inclination is always goodwill. It's very simple, yeah. But it's specifically to the exhausted state. I want you to take a rest. To the one who has to try, you are supported. Let me support you. To the one who's not welcome, you are welcome. And of course, I'm just saying these in words because to really try to evoke that what that would feel like. What would it feel like at that place for something to say, do whatever you like, that's fine with me. Something like that. Again, these are just images and words to bring up. So that's basic, but essentially, you don't have to learn a set of slogans. You come to that place in the attitude of just primary goodwill, a permission, a generosity, and see what seems to feel needed. And images may come up of stories or histories, or even dream images may come up, and just keep that going. And don't linger in the images. Because the main thing is to keep the reference, embodiment, quality of goodwill, and if you can stay at that level, you're just kind of sensing being here, and the beginning of the experience of materiality, when it's still quiet, soft. It's not the functioning, hard, muscular self. It's quite a soft sense. Okay, so that's the place, the layer that this practice is moving towards. Can't exactly push it because it doesn't work that way. It's a allowing and a descending and a resting. You have to be quite patient and spacious with it. You can use sensations and movements because they give a little more something to hold on to. Breathing in, breathing out, simple things. And you detect the energetic connections, sense of an energetic connection will feel from doing something into, you really feel you're with it. It feels more alive. So, I think if I say too much more on it, it may overdo it, which is one of my tendencies. So let's suggest a meditation here, and I know occasionally find it difficult to find a center, because even the word center seems quite, must be at that particular point there, in the center of something, so we tend to operate, it's more like feeling centered, and the feeling centered itself is the quality of the undistorted, or the unconditioned aspect, is the sense of things are fine. No kind of shock or anything to compensate. It's settled. That's nice. There's that. Because this doesn't have a particular location, I have suggested that one can access it perhaps through the base of the body, because this is should be the most settled place. You've got the ground beneath you. If you can relax into that. But also the center can be sensed, because the center and what I've referred to, this space around me, are sympathetic. So if the space around me is safe and comfortable, that's the periphery of the field, and the centre begins to become more apparent within that. If the centre is clear and strong, then I can expand into the space around me and also feel. So you can go either way. But the situation or likelihood is that a lot of our disturbance comes from what's been around us. That is from other people, at one level. Either people doing something or not doing something. So either, and certainly the problem of omission is as profound as the problem of action. So there may have been painful action. Actually, what is more problematic is the lack of fundamental love. The lack of safety, the absence, the things that were not offered or given. So when we arise within that sense of a lack of what should have been given, then there was something wrong with me. Otherwise I would have been given it. So let's trying to clear the space around, and this using that language, because the body, although I've said space is a construction, obviously there are purely mental constructions such as geography. I'm 2,000 miles away, I'm 20 yards away, I'm 10 meters away or something, that is really abstract. That's the abstract construction. But the body constructs or intuits a sense of another level of space, which is associated with the quality of rest and safety that it experiences. So though constructed time, which would be hours and minutes, body time is associated with the degree of calm or lack of it. When things are calm and settled, time is very quiet, slow, peaceful. So it's associated with the energies, essentially, organic time and organic space. And that's useful because then experiencing space around us is an indication of how our body energies are able to open and feel comfortable and feel secure in the opening. And this then does establish one feeling settled. Okay, so as we sit, coming into here-ness and the ground, and simplify the definition of that. So what do we have? We have sensation, pressure, something we can rest on beneath us. Sensory connection, let that become an energetic connection whereby we're really enjoying it and even sensing that what's beneath you really likes to hold you. So you get a very much more full-on energetic connection. What's beneath me is like a hand, happy, comfortable to hold this body. The body can really rest without any resistance. And let that quality of permission to rest on the ground, let that sense, this is the energetic sense, travel up through the belly, the lower abdomen, and the diaphragm, the chest, the shoulders slowly. So everything's getting that signal being held. The upper chest, the arms, the fingers. The jaw, the tongue. There's places where they may be still assuming a certain holding. You just ask them, you can let go now. Something beneath you will hold you. As we come into that process may go on for a while, but within that you may begin to feel disturbances, tingling, pains in your legs. What's that? Don't do anything about it. If you can bear with it, just don't tighten against it. Try to connect that to, so as an energy, where does that sensation, where does that pressure, where does it run to? As you may be an intense quality to it, and it extends for a certain passage through your embodiment. There's a point at which it becomes less and less and less. So you get to the edges of it. So the whole thing, and the quality of non-resistance. Maybe kind of something that's trembling or beating, expand from the center of that to the periphery of it, all around it. It's wide until you come to a place where I can find a place where I'm no longer stressing about that. So from the intense widening to the place, space, where that intensity subsides, and I'm still present, but my energy shifts from bearing with or trying to work it out into releasing, just letting it be, feeling the feeling as it is, and any kind of mood or tone or emotion that comes there, listening to that and holding that with goodwill. Things are relatively settled, or keep expanding your awareness to sensing the edge of your physicality, a tingling skin boundary, and under that boundary, what's around me is warm, receptive, free from intrusion, obstruction, ill will. What's around me is welcoming, this quality. And then it's very simple, but does your throat know that? Does your chest know that? Notice certain areas of your body may still be withheld, holding back. Just gently scanning the edges where the body is meeting space. Fingertips, eyelids, lips. Places in your body that either hurt or you may feel awkward about. Places in your body you don't feel look very nice or feel ashamed of or something. Even these places internally, just a sense of that. What's around it is non-critical, actually welcoming. Sometimes you experience little trembles or shifts in the body. Something suddenly jumps or twitches. That's all part of what the body does as it releases things. It's also useful, if this seems appropriate, to sense the rhythm of your breathing, just this rhythmic, almost as if you're asleep. You can feel that quality, just the rhythmic flow, tide, comforting. Through this form, through this experience. It can be another possibility, and please just ignore what isn't useful. If you're too busy, this is where, of course, these Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and so forth, this is where they appear. So in that peripheral sense of being blessed, images, comes to mind of a benevolent presence. Or even a person you know. Where you get the energetic connection, a heart connection. Establishing this form, held, surrounded or regarded in a spacious, benevolent way, feeling a connection to it, not just a theory, heart connection, bodily connection, embodied connection. Within that you can let the mind, or the way we normally use the word mind, loosen it, let it be imaginative, dreamy, let it move towards the image forming tendency. Don't create anything, but just let it drift into that place where we are sort of half musing. How does it feel? This is the primary level of mind. So this is a particular level, layer of your life process. So whatever is good. If it feels like just even the ability to be more open about how it is. And remember this. And then we'll start to move up towards the sensory level. So again, feeling the edges of your skin within that. And the ground beneath you. Sense of spine, skeletal, the upright sense. This is the next level of construction, what gets built in this sense, if we sense that. And then establishing that, and then beginning to feel the fuller textures of the body, the muscles flexing, breathing in and out, degrees of warmth or dryness or coolness in the skin. Letting the eyelids fold back, so it's like pulling the curtains of the window, letting light come in without jumping out to name anything, just as if you're dreamy, just waking up. Another very important place, very important, don't rush through this place. This is the place where you become first sense of what it's like to be separate. And here, everything, being, people, forms around me are not doing me harm. Present. I'm comfortable with that. I can hold my space in that. And gradually letting the sense faculties complete their work, establishing us as a separate being. So when you feel ready, you can start to move the body a little bit, get that feeling, this textures of sensation.